Hello, my name is Lilian Okibe. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about locks getting slimmer because I've been getting quite a few messages concerning that from you guys. So what we are talking about today is not actually thinning locks. The other day we talked about thinning locks, and I told you guys what you can do to fix the problem and what can be causing your locks to thin out, right? Now in this video, what we're talking about is not actually thinning locks. What we're talking about here is, let's say your locks used to be a certain size. Let's say your locks used to be like much fatter, like each lock used to be like thicker, but now it seems like the locks are, it's not like you're experiencing thinning in any area. It's not like they are not uniform or anything, but it just seems like the whole lock is starting to get slimmer, even though the whole of your head may still look as thick as it used to be, but it just seems like each lock is getting slimmer, right? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, then please keep on watching. Now we'll first start by talking about what could be making your locks get slimmer. Generally there are two major, like what could be the cause of your locks getting slimmer that can be grouped into two parts. It could be something you're doing, or it could be just part of the journey, right? It could just be part of the locking process. Now if it's let's go ahead and talk about things that you may be doing that may be making your locks get slimmer. Now the first thing we're going to be talking about is if you're palm rolling your locks. Like whenever you retwist, whenever you maintain your locks, even if it's not when you're maintaining your locks, like if you're always like palm rolling down the length of your locks, this can actually make your locks start to get slimmer over time. I know that so many people do this because whenever they see frizz in their hair, in their locks, like they freak out and they're like, oh, I don't like frizz, so they go ahead and, you know, palm roll the length of their locks. If you do that over time, your locks may start to get slimmer, right? Because the thing about frizz is frizz actually helps to make your locks appear thicker, you know. So when you go ahead and eliminate all the frizz, obviously your locks are not going to be as fat, right? Another thing that may be causing your locks to get slimmer is also similar to palm rolling the length of your locks, is if you're always tightly wrapping your frizz around the lock. Like if you're always tightly wrapping your frizz around the lock, what you are doing indirectly is you are compacting your locks, and it's just like you're compressing your locks basically. And you know, when your locks are compressed, they're not going to be as fat, you know. So that can be another reason why your locks are getting slimmer. Now another reason why your locks may be getting slimmer is if you are constantly wearing like lock styles, like all those lock elaborate styles. Like there are certain people that hardly wear their locks loose and down. Like they're always wearing all those like barrel twists and like all those petal buns and like all those styles where you're basically coiling and twisting and manipulating your locks. That can actually make your locks to start to get slimmer. Another group of styles that actually can make your locks get slimmer. I feel like this is something that has gotten very popular in the lock community, and so many people are doing it, and then they start to have issues along the line and they wonder what is going on. And that is if you're constantly wearing braids, twists, or braid outs and twist outs, basically styles where you're going to have to plait your locks whatever way, or like cornrows or all those things, like styles that you're going to have to plait your locks. Because what those styles do is they compact the hair. You know, they compact the individual locks. Even though the fact that you have a coil to your hair may look like full, and also the fact that you braid your hair, it stretches out your roots a little bit, and so it helps. If you've not had a retwist, it helps to like elongate your locks, and so your locks may look like fuller, you know. But over time, if you're always like braiding and twisting your locks, the individual locks may start to get slimmer. And it's not like it's going to damage your locks per se, especially if you are braiding and twisting tightly. And if you're doing it often, over time, this can actually make your locks start to get slimmer. And because another thing is, when you're constantly putting your hair in braids and twists and the likes, it also helps to eliminate frizz, you know. And anything you do that removes frizz, anything you do that eliminates frizz, would generally make your locks get slimmer. Now those are the major things that people do that may be responsible for their locks getting slimmer. Now let's go ahead and talk about the part that is out of your control, and that is, it is completely normal for your locks to get slimmer even if you don't do any of these things, right? It's completely normal for your locks to get slimmer, like as they get more compact and as they mature, because If I don't know those of you that watch my videos, you guys know that I always say that you should embrace your frizz, embrace, you know, your frizz and all that, because your frizz actually helps to give your hair volume, right? But the thing is, over time, as your locks get more mature, your hair is not going to be as frizzy. I made a video a few weeks ago, or like I think about last month or like 2 months ago, where I talked about the different stages that your locks will go through within the first year of your lock journey. Now, those stages that I talked about, you're most likely going to continue to experience them over and over again, because the thing about your locks is that even though like the ends and like the length of your locks may have been locked, like the length of your locks may be completely locked, but as your new growth grows out, like your lock journey starts all over again. You know, so you always have baby locks, you always have locks that are just maturing and things like that, you know. So that video, I feel like that video is very, very important. If you've not watched that video, I highly recommend that you go and watch it. I'll link it up in the iCards, because that will help you understand stages that your locks go through even beyond the first year, because those stages keep repeating themselves over and over again, because as your locks grow out, your lock journey starts all over again when you with the locks, like with the hair strands at your roots. Now, in that video, I talked about one of the stages that your locks will go through, and that is compacting of your hair, compacting and shrinking and compacting of your locks. And this usually comes after your locks have swollen up and have gotten frizzy and all that, you know. Over time, as your locks get more mature, the frizz reduces drastically. It is part of the journey, it is part of the locking process. The frizz reduces drastically, your locks become more compact, and when frizz goes and your locks become more compact, it's going to look like it's not like your locks are actually going to look slimmer. But that is part of the journey. But over time, as your hair continues to grow and grow and grow, you're constantly still going to have shed hairs, you know, falling and accumulating and things like that. So over time, even though your locks may get slimmer, as you continue on the journey, they will eventually get thicker. But this time around, they're not getting thicker because they are swollen or because there's a lot of frizz around. They're getting thicker because you have more shed hairs that have accumulated. So it will no longer be as frizzy, but it will definitely be thicker. So I say all this to say that your locks getting slimmer rather, within the first about 2 years of your lock journey, your locks getting slimmer is completely normal, and to a large extent it is actually inevitable, because one of the stages of the starter lock phase is that your locks will swell and bulk up, you know, it will swell and freeze up and all, but that swelling will eventually go away. It's not going to last forever, and that's why I encourage you guys that when you're going through the frizzy stage, the chaotic stage, enjoy it, because a time will come when your hair is not going to be as frizzy. You're going to miss the frizz and you're going to miss the volume that the frizz comes with, because the frizz actually gives your hair this kind of like faux volume, even though your hair may not be as thick. Like when you have a lot of frizz around, your locks just generally look thicker. Now, what can you do to fix your locks getting slimmer? If you're experiencing that, what can you do to fix it? If you're doing any of those things that are man-made, that are, you know, if your locks are getting slimmer as a result of what you're doing, like if you're palm rolling the length of your locks, or like if you're tightly wrapping the frizz around the lock, or like if you are excessively braiding and twisting and all that, if you're doing any of those things, all you need to do is stop. After a while, your locks will thicken up again. And that's the beauty about locks. Like many of the damages that you put your locks through, if you give it enough time, the lock can heal itself. If it's not like a very, very bad, like severe damage, locks can heal itself. So if you make a mistake, like just early on within your journey, as quickly as you notice the mistake, you can just stop doing whatever you're doing, and your locks will eventually heal itself, basically. So if you're doing any of those things and you're noticing that your locks are getting slimmer, just stop doing them. Now, if you're doing none of those things and it still seems like your locks are getting slimmer, that's the high chance that it is just the phase that you're in. It's part of the journey. It will not last forever. Even though your locks may look like it is slimmer now, a time will come when it will get thicker. Like your locks will let me just summarize what I said in that video, right? So one of the stages of your lock journey is that your locks will first swell and be a lot frizzy and swell. At that stage, your locks look very, very thick and big, right? Then another stage that your locks will go through is that swelling. Your locks starts to get compact and like close up those spaces that were, you know, exposed during the swelling period, right? And the frizz kind of finds its way back into the locks to like help with the formation of the locks, and so your locks become more compact, right? But after that stage, you're going to have more shed hairs accumulating around and within your lock. So that lock will eventually get thicker, but this time around it's going to get thicker without frizz, or without as much frizz, you know. So if you're in that phase right now and it looks like your locks are getting slimmer, don't panic, don't fret, relax. That is just a phase, right? If you're not doing any of those things that I mentioned earlier, your locks will eventually get thicker. This is just a phase. This is part of the journey, and to eventually get thicker. And this was something I noticed, and I'm even still experiencing it now, because my locks at the back are actually started to lock faster, you know. So my locks at the back started to experience, you know, the compacting and all at about like 3 months, or like 2-3 months into my lock journey. That's when I started noticing the like massive compacting of my locks, and I panicked, because those of you that watch my videos, you know that I'm really interested in thickness, and I want my locks to be as thick as possible. So when I noticed that my locks were starting to like look more skinny, I was like, what's going on, you know? But after a few months, like they got more swollen, and like they started becoming thicker, and they were no longer as skinny as they were, you know, the locks at the back. But my locks at the front they are kind of like slow. You know, the locks at the front doesn't lock as fast as the back, you know. So it is now that I'm experiencing the compacting and like the slimming around most of the locks in front. Most of the locks at the back, I feel like they are starting to, you know, swell up and get thicker than, like, I feel like I'm almost out of that compacting stage. You know. But the locks in front, it is now that it's just experiencing the compacting stage. And that's why most times when you guys, I don't know how many of you guys have noticed it, but if I show my hair from the front, it looks like my locks are so skinny. But when you see my locks from the back, it looks like they are thicker. One of the reasons is that, okay, I actually have different sizes of locks all over my head. So depending on where you look, it may be the area where I have smaller locks or bigger locks. But apart from that, like the locks in front, it is now that they are kind of like 1 or 2 steps behind the locks at the back. You know, so stages that my locks at the back have gone over, I may just be experiencing it now. So I feel like now in front, this is when I'm experiencing the compacting of my locks in front. At first, I was not pleased with the whole development, but after a while, when as I like understood my locks and like other people's locks also that I have, you know, started, I noticed that it is actually a pattern for many people. You're going to experience that phase where your locks are going to be compact. Now, if you're someone that you're always like palm rolling and, you know, all those kind of things, you may not notice it, because if you're not really into thickening of locks, right? If you're not really interested in having your locks get very thick, this is something that you may not notice, because like as your locks are compacting, they're actually looking more like locks, right? So this is something that you may not notice. But for most people who are like really into they are really into their lock being as thick as possible, they'll most likely notice it. But it is normal. It is part of the journey. It is just a phase. Your locks will eventually get thicker. Now, if you go ahead and study most people with locks, you will notice that there's going to be a phase where it's like their locks swell up and it's so frizzy and so frizzy. Then it gets to a point where it starts to kind of like get slimmer and like be more uniform and be more compact and look a lot more like locks. Then it starts to get thicker again, looking like locks. I feel like I've been rambling too much, but I say all this to say that it is normal, right? Don't panic, just relax and enjoy your journey. So with that, we've come to the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if this is your first time on my channel and you'd like to see more videos from me and how my locks progress, then definitely subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys in my next video. I actually put my hair like in a bun because I wanted to do like a pixie cut kind of look, but now my locks have gotten so long that it's no longer how it used to be before, that I'll just do this and then to form like a pixie cut. Now I have like a lot more head here, so it now has a tail and I feel like it looks weird. It's no, like now it's the so-called pixie cut is, even though I try to compress it and let it shrink and all, but my hair, it now has a tail and I feel like it doesn't look as good, so that's why I just like put this up. Now I'm actually thinking about trimming the ends of some of my locks, but I'm feeling that maybe I should wait a little longer. I feel like some of my ends are like did not form, they've not locked, they are not blunt like the rest, and I just feel like I want everything to look blunt. But I think I'll just wait a little bit before I do that.